Hello, my name is Roy Dipankar. I am a filmmaker in subculture and ethnography. I'm based out of Chennai, which is the south of India. I make films which is based on different genres of music, the interaction between musicians and society, the socio-cultural aspect of our musical communities. I've worked closely and deeply with artists right from the inception of the album till the album makes it to the charts. Really fortunate to have worked with artists who are really well known currently in the Indian and crossover international scenario. I'm here to present to you This Is How We Rock. This segment would deal with the emergence to the evolution of rock music in India through the decades, the now, what's happening in the present sense of India, and what's gonna happen in the future. So watch closely and stick with me for This Is How We Rock.
Extreme Nation!
India in itself was seeing an evolution of rock in the 90s. A friend of mine has made a film, an entire film, on charting the evolution of rock music in India. His name is Abhimanyu Kukreja. Up next in our interview, let's have a look at the trailer and hear the man himself.
My name is Abhimanyu, a former music journalist, an independent filmmaker, and a Rolling Stone. When I was growing up in India, I knew the sound of American rock, English rock, and even German rock. But I wondered, where was Indian rock? This is the story of rock in India.
The 1950s would probably be the first generation of Indian independent musicians.
That's how it started from the late 50s until the 60s.
And then in 1983, Tracy Chapman and all these people performed at India Gate.
Jesus Christ Superstar is a big chapter in my life. I had no clue that I was going to be in it.
Take me away!
Your roots, it's about your hometown, it's about you sing about your mom and dad, about your heartaches, about your aspirations, about your faith. It's sentimental music. It's music with a lot of melody.
My entire family gave me up because I used to walk bare feet. I used to just have a pajama and a ganji with a lot of beads around.
Millennium, none of us come from wealthy backgrounds where we didn't have to work. All of us worked for a living. None of us inherited anything. None of us had some amazing background where we could afford to say, oh, it's okay.
Musicians would like to do independent projects as well because you get a lot of credibility from that.
But I feel that Hindi film has benefited a lot from rock.
Hi, my name is Abhimanyu Kukreja, and I'm a music journalist turned film director. I've recently directed a documentary film named Rockumentary Evolution of Indian Rock that had a theatrical release in India on the 5th of March. So when I started exploring about Indian rock, then not much was written about it on the internet. So all my research happened, which was through word of mouth, by meeting different people, by one call led to another. And this is how these stories were discovered. So some of the interesting stories covered in my film is the famous visit by the Beatles when they came to India to practice transcendental meditation at Mahesh Yogi's ashram in a place called Rishikesh, and how they were accompanied by the Beach Boys and they were accompanied by Hollywood actress Mia Farrow. And this was a big turning point for the Beatles because they went back with approximately 27 songs, which constitutes most of their White Album, which is one of their biggest hit. Even Ringo Starr wrote his first song in India. He was never a songwriter. And this is the Beatles visit. And apart from this, we've also covered how the famous British band, the Police, were invited to India to play at a charity concert. And guess what? They were called by mistake because the organizers thought that they were a police band, like a military band. And it was a packed show. Obviously, people in Bombay knew who the Police were, but the organizers had no idea about it. But what happened after it was that the Indian musicians realized that the venue in which the Police played, which was called Rang Bhavan, is an excellent venue to perform. And hence, since the start of the 1980s, going through almost the end of 1990s, Rang Bhavan became the mecca of music for musicians in Bombay and also for musicians from across India who would come to that venue and play.
So lately I've been reading up this fly book by this gentleman called Siddharth Bhatia. It's called India Psychedelic, the Story of a Rocking Generation. And he says it's hard to imagine rock music and India in the same breath, as unlikely bedfellows as sitar and guitar. So this is exactly what even Abhimanyu presented in terms of how the Beatles came into India at the Maharishi Yogi ashram, and they got into the influences of Indian classical and rock music infusion, and that is how rock music evolved in the White Album. But talking about the psychedelic generations of the 70s and the 60s, and coming to the 90s when thankfully globalization opened up in the 90s for us. I was still in school and I had access to MTV, and MTV provided a plethora, a myriad of artists and a world unknown to many, which opened out an entire generation of releases, and especially rock music. And it was good education as well as, it was opening up a new horizon altogether. It felt like there was a new world out there. And definitely it did create a deep impact for us who were watching MTV around that time. Next up is Kaushik J. Barua. Kaushik is from the northeast of India, Guwahati, Assam.
Hi, my name is Kaushik J. Barua, and I run a record label based out of Northeast India and Delhi. Started my own events division called 6 Degrees Arts that books artists from all around the world and curates lineups for festivals, and my aims and objectives lie in trying to bring freedom in the art space in terms of how we envision music and art and sort of break boundaries in order to be able to achieve bigger heights in terms of how we can push the envelope and take music as a form of expression that justifies its cause and permeates into people's consciousness in order to be able to create a positive impact in the world.
I'm not a perfect lover, but I can write a song for you. No, this is not a love song, just something to say to you. expect a change, or can we write a whole new story to say? Oh, how I wish we stayed the same, seem like the old times, the memories of those good times, yeah, yeah. Writing a whole new chapter to a beautiful story of us. We're just
The second wave of the pandemic, India has been the worst hit nation. We have been struggling with the amount of livelihood and deaths. The toll has gone up. Artists themselves are helping artists. There have been a lot of musicians and bands who have produced tracks, who are giving away the tracks for sale, and all the sales are being in turn provided to relief, because the situation out here has been one of the most disappointing and unprecedented for years to come. In Chennai, we have the independent musician and we have the music composer who also works as an independent musician but also works for the music industry in film. And someone like that coming up in the next segment, who is Bharat Shankar. He is a music producer, he's an independent artist, but at the same time he's also a film music director in Tamil film industry. The recent film that he's composed music for, called Mandela, is rocking the charts as we speak, and I will be very happy to get Bharat to our segment.
Hi everybody, this is Bharat Shankar. I'm an independent musician and a film music composer. I'm the vocalist of the band Urka. It's a Tamil rock band. We are based out of Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. The first main thing that I immediately could think of is that when you write a song with your band, when compared to composing a song for a film, is the vision that's making the primary difference. Because when you write a song with your band, it's basically we do it over a riff, or we do it over a couple of lines, or we do it over that's how a song develops when you write with your band. And another insight that I could think of is that there are a lot of independent musicians who are venturing into mainstream film music these days, and that's making a remarkable change in terms of how the songs are sounding, especially the rock songs, because of these people coming into the mainstream film industry, and that's quite interesting and quite welcoming.
Next up is Vian Fernandez. He's a singer-songwriter. He is also a part of an amazing group called Thaikudam Bridge, which is a regional rock band. Regional rock bands are a rage all over the country. They infuse the local dialect as well as the local folkloric stories to the regional languages, as well as infuse it with rock music. And I think that's an amazing way forward. Let's hear it up from Vian.
Hi everyone, this is Vian Fernandez and I play the bass for a rock band in Kerala which is called Thaikudam Bridge. It's a fusion of Carnatic and rock music and also Hindustani and all the other Indian elements mixed along with rock music. have been performing for almost 7 years. We have finished performing in more than 22 countries with 500 plus shows, and every day is a beautiful journey being on stage with all the musicians that I perform.
Let us hear out what about the future of rock music from our speakers.
I think things have gone a long way, and because of the internet coming in, it has become easier for Indian bands to collaborate with big international producers, which is already happening. So I think the future in India for rock music is great.
Rock music in Northeast India is here to stay for another 2 decades for sure.
I think the way of expressing the feelings, the way of expressing an emotion, a journey is much more convincing and much more stronger through rock music. And it's always been a beautiful connection that I felt with rock music all this while.
Rock music is all about that. It moves people, it makes people free, and it makes people liberate themselves, and it reflects how the society feels. These times I think there are going to be a lot of bands who are coming up. I think there will be a lot of regional bands too, and I'm looking forward to it.
People are not sticking to just English or Hindi, which is also a very prevalent language across the country, but they're also singing in their own tongue, which is amazing. India indeed has these gems all across, strewn all across the nation. Let us hear what have been their influences and their favorite rock bands throughout the years.
My introduction to rock music was through bands like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, bands who were part of the Seattle grunge movement, those days.
My favorite bands include the Doors, the Beatles, Queen, RHCP, AC/DC, Radiohead, Incubus, and bands from my place like Scrack, Junkyard Groove. They all inspired me a lot.
I have always maintained my favorite band from Northeast India since time immemorial has been Soulmate. If you ask me about recent bands, I think Arogya is doing a great job.
My favorite bands, Guns N' Roses, Pink Floyd, Alan Parsons Project, and also Aerosmith. And these days, if you ask me what I'm listening to, so I've been listening to a lot of Steven Wilson, Porcupine Tree, and Blackfield.
The diaspora in India is as huge as the country is. The Indian subcontinent has, a mix of and a diversity of languages, regions, and religion, as well as a lot of topics and subjects to talk about. So that is exactly what's happening in the country.
ஒரு பாதி உழைக்க நினைச்சு இறங்குனாலே செருப்படியா திருந்த சொல்லி கேட்கல இன்னும் திருட்டு கும்பல் சாகல கரைய தேடி ஓடுற இது ஒருத்தனோட குரலில திருந்த சொல்லி கேட்கல இன்னும் திருட்டு கும்பல் சாகல கரைய தேடி ஓடுற இது ஒருத்தனோட குரலில நான் ஒரு ஏலியன் நான் ஒரு ஏலியன் நான் ஒரு ஏலியன் சொல்லேலியன் செயலேலியன் ஏலியன்.
As far as rock music is concerned, it's here to stay. It's gonna go miles ahead, and we're gonna have a slew of newer artists who are gonna perform and provide a brighter perspective and newer perspectives on this genre of music. It's been an absolute pleasure to present to you This Is How We Rock in India. This is Roy signing off. Rock on.
Hello, I'm Sumudi Suravira from Sri Lanka. As you may know, Sri Lanka is an island off the southern coast of India. In terms of Sri Lankan music, we are yet to receive any significant exposure in a global context. So I would like to use this opportunity to introduce to you some projects initiated by this unique collective of musicians in Colombo, which is the capital, called the Music Matters Collective. The projects that I'm about to present to you will feature musicians, contemporary and traditional, from around the island, as well as some international musicians. The first project I'm about to feature is called the Baliphonics. The Baliphonics work with ritual music from the southern and western provinces of the island. The name of the ritual is called the Bali Ritual, and it is an astrological healing ritual. Prior to the pandemic, the Baliphonics were starting to gain some international exposure with performances in Europe and Australia. This particular performance of the group was in Melbourne and was a collaboration with Baliphonics and the Australian Art Orchestra.
Napati Surapati Karaboda Vasiti Visaruda Tangrada Gediye Vasiti Tana Tana Kotana Yang
ensemble is called the Music Matters Trans-Coastal Collective. And in this ensemble, the musicians from Music Matters are collaborating with musicians from the east coast of the island, from a city called Batticaloa. And the music that is performed is based off a Tamil dance theatre form called Kootu. Ensemble is called the Serendip Sorcerers. The Serendip Sorcerers work with folk music from the Sinhalese people, and this particular group present this folk music in a contemporary setting with infusions of improvisation and jazz.
Karadiya Pira. na tamde na na rallaya rallaya tula avata pillaya pillaya tula uputta pilla wa panama pidwa pilla yati diya pita pira tannena 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 tanna tinnena 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 tin tannena tanna tinnena tinna tanna tekana tamna tamna.
The final group I'm about to present is called The Soul. What's unique about them is that they make their own music in a Sri Lankan setting, and they have over the last few years they've really captured a youth audience from both the capital Colombo as well as from the tourist belt, and they perform a lot in these areas. Hope you enjoy.
Plain and simple, that's how it goes. That was the thinking right from the fold. Abuse not your power and will. Thou shalt not commit us all into sin. Your words mean nothing at all. How can they when you speak such a farce? Your presence now makes our blood boil. The sight of your face makes children cry. Me amor, ayo, mocaddame amor. You're breaking hearts, you're crushing minds, not a care for this land, you rip it blind. Do you have an answer for economic debt? The death of our animals, birds, bees and trees. What about the plastic in our seas? Where are the crops that grew carefree? What's up with that demon port city? Killing all the west side fish and reefs. The fishermen strike, farmer suicide. Sanctuaries burn while guns kill flight. The elephants die, conflict is high. No human rights, our lakes destroyed. Once luscious lands are now bone dry. MPs greenlighting heroin supply, restricting a herb that can cure lives, while growing soil, killing palm trees for oil. What a mess we find ourselves in. When will it end? When will it end?
I hope you have enjoyed the four groups I've presented: the Baliphonics, the Music Matters Transcoastal Collective, the Serendib Sorcerers, and the Soul. If you have any inquiries or questions about any of these groups, please contact me on info@musicmatterssrilanka.com. Thank you.
Namaste. I'm Riju Tuladar from Kathmandu, Nepal, and I'm glad to be sharing the musics of Nepal and its festivals at this Global Toronto Meet 2021 through Music Connect Asia.
Musics of Nepal and its festivals. Nepal as a country has tremendous geographic diversity, rising from just a few meters above sea level to the highest point on earth is home to 120 ethnic groups. This immense ethnic diversity, regardless of its size, encircles diverse languages, customs, traditional festivals, and hence musics. For instance, the people from high mountains like Sherpas, Dolpas, Mananges, and Baragaulis have their own customs, festivals, and musics that are different from the people living in the hills, valleys, or plain lands of Nepal. The inhabitants like Muggars, Gurungs, Newars, Sunuwars, Thakalis, Chepangs, and majority of Brahmins and Chetris also have their own customs, festivals, and music that is not only different from ones living in mountains or plain areas, it is also different among the people living within the same region.
This could also be illustrated through the music of people living in the plainlands like Tharus, Darais, Kumais, Mazis, Brahmins, and Chetris. Regardless of these, first Western music influences came to Nepal with the start of Radio Nepal in the 60s. The hippies from the flower generation came to Nepal and brought popular Western music with them, and also instruments like guitars, bongos, violins, keyboards, etc. The concept of Western harmonies was then adapted to Nepali folk melodies. This triggered the rise of pop culture and hence the beginning of folk rock, folk pop, blues, jazz, rock, hip-hop, rap, reggae and fusion from the late 80s till date. Today, there are various festivals built to cater such masses and showcase areas from Nepal and from around the world.
One such festival is Kathmandu Jazz Festival, Jazzmandu. It has been happening every year since 2002, which has promoted jazz in Nepal and brought world-class musicians to the audiences in Kathmandu. Here's Navin, the founder of Jazzmandu, with a small video description about the festival.
It's all about the music, that was the whole reason why we started. I mean, being in Nepal, we didn't have the privilege to check out jazz. I mean, it wasn't like we could go and check out jazz in New York and all these places, so we brought jazz here. So it's all about music, pretty much the essence of having musicians come from around the world, share their energy and music and that joy. Kathmandu is really one of the most interesting cities, For me, sometimes it's not even a city. Sometimes it's almost like a village because there are certain pockets of it, like you'll see, cows and like farms and stuff, and then you're out and then it's this bustle, So there's so much stimulation. There's so much energy in that. And I think that reflects in our music.
Apart from jazz, we also have other festivals that cater to different audiences. Here I would like to invite Flower, the director of Silence Festival Nepal. Hi Flower, hope all is well there. Would you like to tell us a bit about your festival, please?
Hello Rizudai, thank you so much for having me here and giving me this opportunity to talk about Silence Festival. Hello everyone, my name is Flower. I'm the festival director for Silence Festival, and Silence Festival is basically an international metal festival that takes place in Kathmandu, Nepal every year. We've been doing this since 2011, and the reason why we wanted to do this festival is just to bring international bands over to Nepal and showcase them what Nepal has to offer, as well as give opportunity for the local bands here to share a stage with the bands they love or some of their icons, and we love this idea of bridging between the Nepali local scene and the international metal community. So it's pretty interesting in that regard. And so far, in the last 10 years, we've had some of the really household names from the metal community who has headlined our festival. Some of the bands would be Behemoth, Textures, Cancer Bats, and Testament, which was our last edition, which we feel really proud about, and we hope to bring more bands to Nepal, to our festival, provided this pandemic is over. All the bands who have played our festivals in the last 10 years have become our amazing friends, so this is just not like a festival you come, you play and you go. There's so much more to explore and experience here, the lifestyle, the culture, the food, so we try and kind of give it as a package of an experience when a band comes to play our festival. And we always look forward to hear from the bands that we don't know of who would like the idea of coming and playing our festival. So I'm sure we will be leaving some information here later on, how to get in touch with us. So if anybody wants to, or any bands for that matter, wants to get in touch with us, please do so. We'll absolutely would look forward to hear from you guys. And before I leave, just a quick note. As a festival, what we've been doing for past year is we have set up this not-for-profit non-profit sort of charities or organization called Medal for Nepal. As you can guess from the name, the idea is to, unite the global metal community and try and see if we can do some help for the people in Nepal who've been badly affected by the pandemic. If you want, you can also, I will leave you the information about this charity where you can see the work we're doing, and if there's anything or any way you would like to get involved in as well, please feel free to reach out. And lastly, thank you so much for having me. I hope to see you in Nepal soon. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Flower. And besides rock, metal, jazz scene and its festivals, Nepal also offers other different music festivals.
Nepal Music Festival. Since 2012, Nepal Music Festival is a volunteer-run yearly music festival. Via the means of music and the art of festival is focused to engage youth activism for peace, unity and sustainable development. Kathmandu Blues and Roots is one-day annual blues festival held since 2016, usually in the month of September. It has hosted artists from Italy, United States, France, along with local musicians from Nepal. Gypsy Jazz Festival is an annual Gypsy Jazz festival since 2014, curated to explore the possibility of a relationship between traditional Nepali music and Gypsy jazz. This festival has attempted to be a platform to bridge the traditional music in Nepal with cultural migration to the West. Cat Jazz International Festival. In partnership with UNESCO, Cat Jazz International Festival aims to celebrate the International Jazz Day on April 30th. A week-long jazz and educational festival, free and open to the public, features national and international artists with a strong focus on empowering music education through various workshops, masterclasses, and concerts.
Well, we have more to it. We also have a community-based world music festival called Echoes in the Valley, and this is the only festival that's running this year in 2021, but of course virtually. And we have Bhushan on the line here, the festival director. He'll be letting us know a bit more about the festival.
Thanks, Rizu. Echoes in the Valley is a community-based free annual music festival. It strives to uncover, revive, and make relevant Nepal's intangible heritages and disappearing sounds by showcasing local music, art, and performances of everyday rituals. It transforms small neighborhoods into grand stages for musical conversations between international and local artists. In addition, the festival offers an array of interactive educational initiatives, a music conference, creative workshops like music making, painting, intergenerational intangible heritage knowledge passed down, and calligraphy workshop. Other activities include children book reading, music and analog animation, photo exhibition, and guided neighborhood walk. EITV is committed to create an engaging platform for the exchange of practices, experiences, research, and philosophies. We also organize an annual music conference, a component we added in 2019, where we discuss various important aspects of music. The first year's topic was music education, accessibility, and the future of Nepali music. Besides these, we also organize music residency. Running since 2017, the festival has gained appreciation and support from wider Nepal as well as international world music communities. It has succeeded in providing a much-needed platform for music interactions between local and international musicians. The festival has also become a viable platform for young aspiring musicians and artists.
Thank you so much, Bhushan, for such insights. And thank you all for joining. I think that's about it from Nepal for now. Thank you, Music Connect Asia, and a big shout out to Global Toronto Meet.